Hi, everyone. We're talking to Dr. Allan Saxe at the University of Texas at Arlington. We're both interested in little free libraries, and he has sponsored some. So tell us why. Like, what's the why behind your interest?
I, I watched a program on television one time on a Sunday morning, and I had never heard of little free libraries. They were talking about little free libraries in other parts of the country. And I said, that's neat. They build a little box and people put a book in. And then if you want to get that book, you can take it home and read it or wherever you want to do, and then put another book of yours in and return it or whatever. I also have found out that here at UTA, where I've sponsored little free libraries all around the campus, that they use them for notes, that
Mm,
people will leave a note in the little free
love it.
library for somebody else to pick
Great.
up. So it's sort of an interesting way to communicate.
Wow.
But little free libraries are a very interesting thing. First of all, it's free, and people can go there. You can put any book you want in there and take it out, put another one in if you like or not. And it's just a wonderful way to get people to read in a very informal, nice way. Don't have to be in a university classroom. Take it home, read it in the bathroom, whatever you want to do,
Yeah.
and bring it back. And it's just a wonderful, novel idea. The other reason I think it's very interesting is that in the age of technology, and I'm not a technological Luddite, I believe technology in many ways is wonderful. But it's different when you see somebody running down the street talking on the phone, or text messaging in their car, or even reading in a little through a little piece of technology. There's something about getting a book in a nice, quiet setting and reading. And frankly, reading may be a lost activity. I know a lot of people would say, no, that's not true, but I think it is true. Um, in colleges and universities now, many classes do not even use textbooks. They'll use the internet, and that's all right. They don't use textbooks. You can talk to a lot of textbook publishers, and they'll tell you the textbooks are getting thinner and fewer students are reading them.
Yeah.
So reading, I think, in the general population is just not the great activity that it used to be. We're all on the move. We're all on those phones, except for me. I don't run down the street using the phone. I rarely use a phone, but that's another story altogether. At least not the kind of phone that people run around with in their hands, crossing the street and falling down the staircase
Yeah.
or jumping into a building or something
Yeah.
like that. But it's just a wonderful idea to get people to read more in a different setting, in a quiet setting. And it's probably, frankly, the last gasp of reading books, reading literature. But that's okay. If it's even a last gasp, I'll gasp with them.
Yeah. We've had some good contributions in the little free libraries on campus, like a wide variety magazines, books, and I'm all for reading anything. And I like to read non-academic stuff too.
I do too. In fact,
Yeah.
non-academic stuff is much better than academic stuff. There's no question
Yeah.
about
What do you
it.
like to read?
I read a lot of news events, of
Oh,
course,
okay.
but reading is a difficult thing for me. I know that sounds strange in a college setting, but I'm always thinking to myself, if I was 18, 19 today, I would be declared ADDD, whatever that is, or
Yeah.
attention deficit, hyper
Uh-huh.
deficit, whatever
Uh-huh.
deficit it
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
But I would be that. It is very difficult for me to read. I don't know if I'm autistic or not. I don't know if I have a different syndrome, but it is difficult for me to read.
Focus. Yeah.
It's awful hard. I cannot pay attention. I cannot sit still. And so when I get irritated with my students who can't sit still, I have to think of myself that I'm one of them that cannot sit still. I will not go to a lot of events because I can't sit there listening.
Yeah.
I don't read very much. Academic books. I remember in graduate school at a different university, I'd always be walking around with one book. And a lot of the other graduate students I knew would say, you still have that book. You had that book a year and a half ago. And they were right, because it would take me a year or more to plow through a little book, academic, that most people could do
Mm.
in a week, a
Mhm.
day.
Yeah.
Very difficult for me to read. But when I see a student reading in the hallway here, reading a good book, I think it's wonderful. Only time I don't want them to be reading is in my class. I want to be paying attention.
Mhm.
So once in a while, I'll see a student reading a book, and I want to say, "What are you reading?" But I don't,
Yeah.
because I'm glad they're reading something.
That's great.
They're probably bored with the lecture, but they're reading something. But I read everything. I read newspapers galore. I can read a short article. I can't read a long book. People learn in different ways. I learn through listening to people. I'm a storyteller myself, and I like to listen to other people tell their stories, and it hits me. I joke to people I'm a walking Google, and I am. I can pull up uh, information about politicians, about movie stars, about athletes. I'm a bundle of trivia, and it's because I've listened to people telling stories. I'm very visual, and I listen, but I can't read. And it's a very difficult thing, but maybe one sense compensates for another.
Mhm. I think so. I think so. Tell me more about how the little free libraries sort of spread in Arlington and maybe beyond in the
Okay.
community.
I was asked by some people in the library here at UTA if I would help to sponsor some libraries on the campus.
Yeah.
And I thought, wow, that's terrific. I
Yeah.
would love to do that. And I had some available funds and did it. So
Cool.
we now have little free libraries all over the campus. Uh, and then it sort of spread. So there is a community organization. I think it's called Arlington Proud.
Yes.
An
Yeah. Mark Jokl.
interesting
Yeah.
name, Arlington Proud. I
Yeah.
think every city wants to be proud of itself. But
Yeah.
anyway, they decided to hook into it. So I sponsored a lot of their little free libraries all over town. And then I've done some on my own. I put them in various church parking lots and things like that around town. And in other cities, I've done the very same
Oh.
thing. So I've sponsored little free libraries. The word gets out. So I sponsored little free libraries, just a little, wooden
Mhm.
little library standing up, and I enjoy it. I have my little touch somewhere. So if I can't read very well, I'm glad that other people can.
You're a facilitator.
I'm a facilitator.
And a
I love that.
sponsor.
I'm a facilitator.
That's what I do.
I love that.
Facilitate behind the scenes.
I love that.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
great.
that's great. Well, that's really awesome. I'd like to keep spreading the word too,
Great.
and I'm glad you're so involved. What do you hope for literacy in Arlington since you live here?
I'm startled, but I've talked to people in the library at different times. And they tell me the number of people that are, I hate to use that word,
Mhm.
not very literate.
Right, below level.
That's right.
Yeah,
And I'm startled at
I
that.
know.
In this day and age of sophistication, of technology, of twittering,
Hmm.
of all that stuff that goes on, I just can't believe that there's
Hmm.
a number of people that are not very literate.
Hmm.
And we're not talking about people that have just come in to town from another country. We're talking about people that are, I guess you might say, natives
Hmm.
to the country. And I guess it shows, I'm going to be tough for a minute,
Yeah.
that our school system did not do its work. You know what I mean?
It's like what happened?
That's right.
Yeah.
Uh, there was a very famous bumper sticker years ago that said, "If you can read, thank a teacher."
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then a friend of mine said, "We ought to put a bumper sticker on saying, if you can't read, thank a teacher also. But if you can't read, then what are the bumper stickers going to do?"
Can't read it. Yeah.
So I
It's
think
shocking.
that's right. It
Yeah.
is shocking. So I think people learn actually better outside of the school environment. Mark Twain said, I'm paraphrasing, he was very educated till he went to school. And I think there may be some truth in that. So the little free libraries can facilitate that. If you get a book, you just start reading, and somebody can tell you how to do it.
Yeah,
You know, it's
give
not that
access.
big of a deal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You just start reading.
Uh-huh.
And I picked up, I haven't done it now because they're all dead. I love that word dead. But I had members of my family that never went to a public school. My father was an immigrant from Europe many years
Oh,
ago.
wow.
And but you got to have motivation. He actually paid someone to be a tutor to teach him English. And that's interesting. It's that motivation to do it. Never went to an American public school, but he could speak English and was very fluent in several languages. My mother never graduated from high school either. I think she went to a small business college for a while. And she was a maid, by the way, which is, I used to be embarrassed by that. Now I'm proud of it. She did something better than I've done. She did something with her hands, cleaned up the place. And I would go with her as a little child sometime. But she would read. And I remember she lived in a little apartment house. And when she got when she was very old and frail, I would remember sitting in the living room of this little apartment house reading a book. And I think she would have loved the little free libraries. I don't even know where she got these books from. I think she would read Reader's Digest.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know if Reader's Digest is around anymore.
Yeah.
And she would read Reader's Digest. And then she would read books. She'd read mystery novels. And she would read romance books, and a lot of academic community would have frowns on that. Well, it taught her how to read.
Yeah.
And it was a wonderful thing that she could do. And you use your imagination. When you read, you use your imagination. That's why old-time radio was wonderful, because they had stories, audio, and you had to imagine what was going on. So you use various parts of your brain. So the same thing with reading. I'm not a technological Luddite. I keep saying that, and I'm not. But there was something so good and stimulating to your brain with old-time radio and old-time reading.
Yeah.
And you get involved with a group that emphasizes that. And I think that's how you learn to read. I don't know if a teacher in an English class, I'm going to make everybody happy, sitting there saying, here's where you diagram a sentence. Yeah, diagram a sentence. I've never understood what a dangling participle is yet. You know what I mean? And I'm not sure if I want to know. You know what I mean? And don't worry about the punctuation.
Yeah.
Just learn. In fact, I tell my students the first thing, I have them do little research papers. And the first thing they want to know is, what are the margins? What do you have to do with the margins? Is this MLA or BLA or University of Chicago or what? I don't care. Just think, write it down on paper and think.
Yeah.
So all this academic stuff, I think, gets in the way. So to get back to little free libraries, I think that when you get a little free library, you just take the book, go read it, go find a nice quiet restaurant, go find someplace under a tree. There's this wonderful statue that a lot of libraries use. I wish we had one here at UTA. And it shows a little boy or a little girl sort of sitting under a tree, very idyllic, with a book. And sometimes a dog in the picture.
Yeah.
It's a very idyllic thing, but I've actually seen a few people do that. Not much now, but sometimes when I'll see a student in the hallway at UTA, everybody's running around, and I'll see a student reading a book, I'll actually stop and say, that's a wonderful thing you're doing, is reading a book outside of their textbooks. Just read.
Taking time.
Exactly. Read a book.
Yeah.
And it's not just out of because it's an assignment for tomorrow, So Little Free Libraries, it's a wonderful opportunity. People can use them or not use them.
Right.
Whatever they want to do. They're free. It's unique. But I do think it's sort of a last gasp of reading in America. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah, I wonder what the future is. I think it's an interesting time, like the golden age of technology, but we still have books.
That's right. Books are wonderful. And, when we think about what is the Gutenberg Bible printing, what a deal. It's spread the word everywhere, But I don't believe that, quite frankly, that this is going to get the world reading much anymore. But for those people that want to take advantage of it, not everybody's good. It's a wonderful thing to do.
Yeah, it's symbolic.
Yeah,
and it's
exactly.
grassroots.
Exactly. It's a wonderful thing to do. And I'm glad to be a small part of it. It's really nice. The Levitt Pavilion in Arlington, which is one of my favorite places to go to, we have a little free library there. And one day before the little concert started, I saw somebody actually taking books out and putting some books in. and it was wonderful.
Oh, that's
You
great.
know, they're listening to the music and they're reading a book.
I love it.
I think it's terrific. It is
Making use of it.
absolutely
Yeah.
terrific.
I like the artistic kind of
That's right.
aspect to them
It
too.
was really nice.
Oh,
So
that's good. I
it's
like to
another
see
thing in
that.
our society
Yeah.
that we can do. You know, I think we need a little bit more quiet, a little bit, they call it peace and quiet. We'll never have peace, but quiet is nice.
Hmm.
And books can supplement that.
Yeah, they calm me down. I get stressed
Yeah,
out.
that, that's true.
That's
I
good.
enjoy it.
Well, good. Well, thank you so much. If you have anything else to add, let me know later and we can do another video.
Well, I appreciate what you do very, very much on the campus and trying to get people to understand a lot of things about technology and about what's going on in the world. And I
Great.
appreciate that a lot.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thank you, Dr. Saxe.
Thank you.